So here's our first couple. Actually, our first definition of a point, correct? Do you see that right in the middle of the page? Yes. A point is a location. Yeah? We're familiar with points that typically have an ordered pair with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Notation, it's usually listed as a capital letter. And it is important as we get into this geometry stuff that if things are capital letters, you keep them capital letters. And if they're lowercase letters, you keep them lowercase letters. Okay, that is kind of a standard thing. So on my notes page, I'm going to put, for the definition of a point, a location with a capital letter.
What?
And do you think you can draw point P on your paper?
Yeah, I think so.
You can handle that? Because there are going to be some things that are a bit more difficult than point P. Okay? Now, a point is a location. A point technically has no size. That's kind of weird, but it doesn't, like, the point isn't exactly the size of that circle. It's just the location of that circle. Okay? So you could draw a big point or a small point, and it doesn't matter because it's not the size of the point, it's the location of it. Kind of sort of make sense? A little bit? Anyways. Okay, so there's a point. What's the next word on our list?
Line.
A line is made up of points. It extends in both directions with arrows at each end. It is incredibly important that you put our arrows at each end. If you don't put arrows at each end, you are giving something else, not a line. The way you name a line is you name it with any 2 points on the line, or sometimes it'll have a lowercase script letter that's next to the line. Let me give you a minute to finish writing for a minute, and then I'll talk to you about the naming of the line. Okay, so in this example here, do you see how we have line or point A and point B? So we could call it line AB, or we could say line BA, because it doesn't matter which order we say those points in. Or we could call it line K. Why could I call it line K? Because it's named at line K right there. That refers to the same thing. This is the notation we're going to get familiar with, though, right here. AB, or you could write BA, with that line with 2 arrows on top of it. Why do you think that has 2 arrows on top of it? Because it's a line. If it has 1 arrow, it's different. If it has no arrows, it's even different from that. Okay? Exactly 1 line can be drawn through any 2 points. So if I give you 2 points, there's only 1 line that can connect those 2. So? What's our next word? A plane. Like an airplane?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
A plane is a flat surface made up of points that extends in all directions. The white screen that you are looking at right now would be considered a plane.
Why?
Because it's big and it's flat. It is a flat surface. Now, it is not entire. A plane technically goes infinitely in both directions, up and down and side to side. So that is a smaller plane. It's been chopped up a little bit. But think of a plane as like a wall or a floor or a ceiling, some kind of big flat area. That's a plane. Okay? The way we notate it, when it says notation, that's how we write it. We name it by using 3 non-collinear points on the line. How can they be non-collinear on the line? We'll have to think about that in a minute. I'm going to go back to collinear in just a minute and talk about non-collinear. Or a capital script letter. So here's, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Thank you. I knew it was coming. So here's my capital script letter. Do you see that? The M. So I could call this plane M, or I could call it plane ABC. Doesn't matter the order because there's points A, B, and C on that. Does that kind of make sense? How you name it? Exactly one plane can be drawn through any non-planar points. Non-planar? I think non-collinear. All right, so we've done point, we've done line, we've done plane. I'm going to skip line, segment, and ray for just a minute because we need to talk about collinear and coplanar, don't we?
Yeah.
So that you can understand that one a little more. That's up at the top. Now, yes, there's 5 words here and you only have 2 on your sheet, so you only have to write the 2. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. They are collinear. They share a line. Coplanar points are points that are on the same plane. And then she also has non-collinear and non-coplanar. You don't need to know those, but obviously they would be the opposite of linear and collinear and coplanar. And then you may hear the word space come around, and that's the set of all points, whether they are collinear, coplanar, or non-collinear, non-coplanar. It's just everything. So things are going to get a little strange here for a little bit
Yeah, they are.
as we learn the definitions. Collinear and coplanar, there is no image or example really to go with it. It's just lines on the same, or points on the same line, or points on the same plane. Questions about those two? Okay, do you still need the definition up there? Yes? No? Okay, because I'm going to jump back to, hang on, why are you not going down? There we go. Hang on, I don't want to do that. I just want to cancel. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so let's come back to here now. And I didn't write all of those, shame on me. But let's fill in the ones that we were missing. Ready? We missed, hang on, it's got to focus for me here. Line, segment, and ray, correct? Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and review. What was a line? It is 2 points, right? Through it with arrows on each end. And the arrows mean what? Goes forever and ever in either direction, right? A plane, you'll usually see that kind of like that. I could think of this paper that I'm writing on as a plane, okay? All right, so let's talk about a line segment then. What does a line segment sound like it is? It's related to a line. What was that?
I think it is one that says one dot and one.
It's a piece of a line. A piece of a line. So if I go up here to my line, and we had our line AB, I think it was called, correct? And we called it AB with this symbol above it, correct? Or you could call it BA. I tend to like things in alphabetical order better, but either way, right? So the line had an arrow at each end. A line segment does not. It just has the little line with no arrows above it. So you could call it AB or BA. And here's the way it looks. Here's point A, here's point B, and it merely connects them. It does not go past them. It does not have arrows beyond. It is just a piece of that line. Okay? And that's something that's going to drive you guys nuts until you get familiar with the language, because you're going to point to both of those and say line, but you're going to need to get familiar with the fact that one of them is a line, one of them is a line segment, and they're 2 different meanings. Okay? Lines go on forever. Segments have a specific beginning and a specific end point. Okay? And then the last one we're going to cover today is a ray. Guess what a ray is? Aw, no, not a ray of sunshine here.
It's a point with an arrow.
It's half a line. So if I have this example right here, here's point A, and here's point B, it's going to start at one, but it's going to go through the other. So it only has an arrow one direction. Now, something that is important is this one, it does matter whether you do AB or BA. Because our little ray symbol, if the line has two arrows, the segment has no arrows, guess what the ray has?
One arrow.
One arrow. And the arrow has to be on the same point or the same end that the arrow is here. The non-arrow side has to be the starting point of your ray. So this one I can only write it as AB with that ray over it like that. Make sense? Okay, collinear we know is on the same line. So if I was looking at my lines up there, A, B, and C are all collinear right here. If I look at that, coplanar on the same plane. So if I had a plane like this, A, B, C, those are all coplanar. Can 3 points, or 2 points, can they be both collinear and coplanar? Yeah, they could be. Now, here's where your brain's going to stretch. Turn your paper over to the back side. Your brain is going to be looking at two-dimensional figures, because they're drawn on my paper. I'm sorry, but they're three-dimensional figures drawn on a two-dimensional paper. So we have to think this is a 3D picture. Okay? So this is like a piece of paper right here. Yeah? And on that piece of paper, you've got two lines drawn. Did you see that? Line BC or CB and line CD or DC. What is this other line? How do I know that's not drawn on the paper?
It goes off as it goes off.
Woo!
Bless
Goodness.
you.
I can tell that it's not on the paper because do you see how it's dotted there?
Mm-hmm.
This is a line that's actually going through the paper. So if this paper is my plane right here, this line is going like this. It's cutting through and then continuing on the other side. Kind of makes sense? That's why it has the little dotted part. So, name a line that is not contained in plane N. Well, we talked about 3 lines there, correct? Only one of them is not on the plane. It just crosses through it. What is that line? You could call it line AB, you could call it BE, you could call it AE. Any of those would be ways of describing that line right there. So, how do I label it? Well, I pick my 2 letters. I'm going to call it AE just to be difficult. And then I put my line symbol on top. Make sense? Okay. Name a plane that contains point B. Well, we can say plane what? I could call it, you use 3 letters. You could say BCD. Or, remember, I could say it's plane N, because they've labeled the whole plane as N. Or plane BCD. Okay. Name 3 collinear points. There's only one line, I think, that has 3 points on it. Collinear, I would look for a line, and I need to name the 3 points. What points are they? Does this one have 3 points on it? No, it's only got 2 labeled. What about this one? Does it have 3 labeled points? What about this one?
Yeah.
So that's the only one I can name right now. Name 3 collinear points. We have point A, point B, and what other point? What else is on it? E. So?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now looking at the next picture, what do I have going on there? What kind of shape do I have? A rectangular prism, also known as an Amazon box, right? We've got a box, okay? Obviously that's three-dimensional and that's the best we can draw it on a paper, right? So, how many planes are shown in the figure? Well, if we have an Amazon box, how many planes are there on that? In other words, how many sides does it have? 6, right? Because we have the top, the side, the bottom, the other side, and then the two ends. That's our box. We have 6 sides. Our points B, E, G, and H, are they coplanar? How would I know? If I'm thinking about a box, coplanar means that all 3 points would be on one of the sides. I couldn't have like 2 on one side and 1 on another side. Are they coplanar? No. Which one throws it off? Well, E. Technically, those 3 could be on the top, right? Or I could say this one throws it off because these 3 are on that side, right? Or I could say this one throws it off because these 3 are on that end. Okay? Either way, they're not coplanar. Okay? Name a point coplanar with D, C, and E. Okay, I'm going to switch colors so I can follow it. D, C, and E. All right, so we're talking about this side of the box right there. Yeah? What's another point on that plane? B. Would it be what?
F, since H is
Hang on, did I label that wrong?
yeah,
I did label it wrong, didn't I? D, C, and E. So we're not talking about that one. We're talking about the bottom of the box.
yeah.
So it is. You could use point F or you could use point J. So not point B, point F. Thank you. My brain's only looking at it so. All right, now before we draw these, draw planes M and N that intersect in segment or in line HJ. I want to show you a visual really quick. So I'm going to go back to my favorite PowerPoint, which I do like the PowerPoint, but let's see if the show will show up better on this one. Okay, let me get past these guys. Visualize 2 lines intersecting. What word do you know that could describe what their intersection looks like? Look at where they cross. That would be called a point, right? 2 lines intersect in a point. What if I had 2 planes intersecting? Like if I had 2 pieces of paper and they intersected each other. They don't intersect in a point. What do they intersect in? A line. So here's one plane. Here's another plane. They intersect in a line. Okay? So keeping that visual in your head, let's try and draw the figures we need to draw. Because I'm not an artist, so I need to copy something. I can't construct it on my own. I'm just not that skilled. Those of you that are, more power to you. All right. So planes M and N intersect in HJ. So I'm going to kind of try and sketch what I saw. So there's one of my planes. Yeah? I'm going to call that plane M. And then the other one kind of intersected it like this, didn't it? And it kind of went down. that reasonable? Does that get the point across, kind of? So this one I'm going to call N. And they intersect in this line. So what do I need to label those points on that line? H and J. Again, I totally understand we are not artists here. I'm more concerned about, can you look at a picture that's already drawn for you and pull out the important information from it, than can you draw this picture. Okay. Line R is in plane N. Line S is in plane M. And R and S intersect at point J. So that could kind of go with this picture, couldn't it? If I were, let me use a different color and draw it in here. If I had, actually, you know what? Let me start off with, I'm just going to draw that picture again really quick. M, and then something like that, yeah? So, oops, let me label that one, that's N. Line R is in plane N. So I'm going to call this right here line R. Line S is in plane M. So it doesn't really matter how I draw it, but let's say S goes like this. And then it would keep going behind. And they intersect at point J. Do you need me to zoom in for you? Good answer. All right, that's the best I got for you right now. So. And then the last part says what? Line T contains point H, but line T does not lie in plane M or plane N. So guess what? T is just like out here on its own. And you didn't see what I just drew. T is like out there on its own. Okay? Can't be on this plane. It's like if this paper was the plane, it would be like coming angling up like that. Or down or something. It can't be flat against that. Otherwise it's on that plane. Weird. I know, it's weird. So let me talk to you a little bit about your homework, because your homework is a lot of, can you read and interpret what's going on? So if I go to the homework here, I did not print it out for you because I figured you could do it on paper, no problem. Name each figure using the proper symbols. So what is this first one, A? It would be a line. Line CD and use the proper symbol above it. Okay. This one we have a what? Plane, a point. What's D? Line segment. E? Ray. And F is another plane. Okay. These ones, it's asking you to draw and label. So draw line PQ. Draw points S and T. And draw plane EFGH. You can draw a plane, right? Like a parallelogram looks like. Then describe what each of these symbols means. See how they're all three different. And then name 3 different rays on the plane shown above. So I could connect point Q to point R, couldn't I? Like start at Q and then go through R. That would be one ray. I could start at P and go through R. That's another ray. I could start at R and go through P. That would be another ray. Okay? 3 different rays. A student responds with this as their answer. Explain what they did wrong. Name a line that passes through point Q. A student above names the plane, or a student names the plane above PQ. Is this incorrect? State 2 ways to name the plane correctly. Okay? So just do that on a separate piece of paper. There's not really a whole lot of work to be shown. However, you do need to draw a couple figures down here in number 2. Okay? All right. Happy studying.